Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 with Hangar Control. And today we're going to be talking about reverse thrust and a new feature that is coming in the next release of Hangar Control that's going to help you solve many of the problems and frustrations that come with binding reverse thrust. Make sure that you guys watch the intro coming up right now to find out exactly what Hangar Control is, and then we'll get started. One app designed to do it all. Hangar Control brings everything together: control bindings, hardware configuration, mod and profile management, application launching, add-ons, config files, and more, all managed from a single application. Mods Hangar goes beyond just mods and add-ons. It manages profiles, config files, text files, backups, snapshots, and helps keep your community folders clean and organized. Application Hangar launches your entire sim stack with a single click. Your Stream Decks are fully controlled through the Hangar Control plugin, while all of your other Stream Deck plugins remain active and available. Built by a simmer for simmers, Hangar Control adds new features and hardware support every week based on community feedback. It's a one-time purchase with lifetime updates, no subscriptions. You can try it for free for 5 days with no restrictions at overkillsimulations.com. Just create an account, head to your account page, download the latest version, and get started. And if you're looking for in-depth Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft tutorials, check out my Patreon site. Links to Hangar Control and Patreon are down in the description below. Alright, so first let's talk about some of the problems that we deal with when it comes to reverse thrust. First off, just finding the bindings and getting them set up correctly in the right timing at the right placement can be a real pain in the backside. The other thing that tends to happen is you may go to trigger reverse thrust and maybe the levers only tick a little bit and they don't go all the way up, and you don't actually get into full reverse. Or sometimes you may go to trigger it and you don't actually get the expected response. I cannot talk apparently. So you'll go to, for example, engage your reverse thrust. The bindings are all correct, the actions are correct, but you get an inconsistent response to reverse thrust. Sometimes the sim actuates it and sometimes you have to re-trigger the event in order for it to take place. All of these things Hangar Control has aimed to resolve, and I believe that I would say in 92.6345711% of the time we will have solved this problem for you all. So let's get straight into it, and first I'm going to talk about what it actually does, where the advantages come from, and how it's all built and how it works on the backside, so you can understand, well, what is the actual benefit to using this feature in Hangar Control versus any other method. So let me talk about what makes this new reverse thrust system in Hangar Control different from everything else out there and why I built it the way I did. If you have ever, as we talked about before, tried to set up a reverse thrust in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 or 2024, you know it can be a nightmare. It's not a matter of what your hardware is or what you're using, Bravo, Virpil, Thrustmaster, a button on your Stream Deck. It does not matter. You bind a toggle, you press it, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Maybe your reversers come up to idle and just sit there. Maybe one engine reverses and the other one doesn't. Maybe you come out of reverse and your throttles jerk to forward to full power while you're still sitting on the runway. And it's an absolute mess sometimes, and the reason is pretty simple. Reverse thrust is not a single action in Microsoft Flight Simulator, at least it's not designed to be. Sometimes you can skate by with it with simply a reverse and then a full throttle forward or throttle forward, but it doesn't usually work real well. It's a sequence of actions that has to happen in the right order with the right timing, and every aircraft handles it differently, which makes it even trickier. So what I did is I built an entirely separate system for just reverse thrust. It does not share a code path with your throttle axis. It does not share a code path with your button bindings. It runs on its own dedicated runtime. That means it cannot interfere with your normal throttle operation. It cannot corrupt your calibration. It cannot leave your axis in some weird state. And if something does go sideways with reverse, it stays isolated, keeping your throttles working just fine, and the aircraft will eventually take over with the SimConnect command that are assigned to your throttles. The way it works is you're building a step sequence. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. Step 3, etc. Each step has its own command type, its own value, and its own timing delay before the next step fires. So the sim gets each command in the exact order it needs to, with enough breathing room to actually process it. This is especially considerable when you're talking about multiple engine aircraft such as the PMDG 737 we've got here on the screen. When you're actuating both of them, it gets a bit trickier. That's why a lot of people, what they do, for example, the fabulous developer over at Flight Sim Factory with his Bravo throttle quadrant, and I think Pro Desk Sim, I always forget their name, I'm so sorry, does the same thing where you have reverse thrust, but actually, even though you have two thrust reversers, only one of them is actually sending the command, because when you engage them side by side, it tends to cause a problem. So one of the biggest complaints that I hear is that my reversers only go to idle, or they don't go full reverse, or I can't figure out the command to make it work because the people aren't realizing that there's missing variables, and again, they have to be in the correct timing. So what I've got here is something that I'm really proud of, is a per engine independence. If you have a twin engine aircraft, if you have two separate buttons or two detents on your Bravo, engine 1 and engine 2 run completely separate sequences at the same time, but with enough separation between them to make sure that they actuate each time consistently. Okay, so if you put both engines go into full reverse, release just the left one, then only the left one will come out of reverse. Engine 2 will stay at full power. Have fun taxiing that bad boy. Okay, so true independent throttle control and the ability to truly set up dual engine systems. So that's the real benefit here. And that's, I guess, I know I got a little long-winded there, so I'm going to move on, but the idea behind it is that the process is running completely separately of everything else. And to my knowledge, nobody else does this. So let's move on here to the demo. So we're going to go into control bindings. We're going to make sure our service is started. We're going to go into our Bravo throttle quadrant. We're going, oh, what is this? We should probably change that. I wonder what that's all about. Anyway, we're going to come over here and we're going to go to axis 1. And the nice thing about PMDG is it uses your standard throttle axis. So we can go pick. And we're just going to do throttle 1. And we're going to find the set. And set our throttles here. Do the same thing with 2. Add. Oh, nice. Add. Pick. Change that to throttle 2. And throttle 2 set. Hit OK. And save. Now, we can see here. Got throttle actuation. Ready to roll. Now let's talk about the fun part. We want the detents to be full reverse. That's what they're designed to do. So we're going to come down here. We're going to go to detent. Now, by the way, I want to stress that if you've already got it set up and working, you don't have to do this. This is not forcing a change. This is an option. I want to make that clear. But instead of going to Sim Connect event, you're going to hit the drop down. You're going to go all the way to the bottom. And you're going to find Reverse Thrust MSFS. And then you're going to simply click Configure Reverse Thrust. Now for this next piece, this covers, I would say, 85 and almost 90% of the aircraft that are in Microsoft Flight Simulator today. Everything from, I believe, the PC-12 from SimWorks Studio, tested with the Black Square Duke turbines and the TBM 850, the TBM 930, the PMDG 737 here, as well as the fly-by-wire A320, and we even have a preset built in for the Phoenix A320. So the fly-by-wire, by the way, I will show you guys at the end of the video how to set that one up, as there is a little bit of a caveat with that one. But it's just with the EFB. So here's how it's normally done. Usually what you see is you see developers or anyone else with these bigger airliners is just using all engines on a single button that triggers full reverse on both engines. But that's not near as fun, is it? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually set MSFS one engine, or engine 1, excuse me. Okay, you can see it presets everything for you. You shouldn't have to do anything else. We're just going to hit OK, and we're going to hit Save. Okay, now watch. Pull the throttle forward. Let me get that actually out of your way. There we go. Pull the throttle forward, bring it back. Now I'm going into the detent. Give it a second. Naturally brings up the full reverse. You've got your reverse out of the detent. and back into normal operation. Let's set up the second engine. So again, real quick, coming back to our detent, reverse thrust again, configure, engine 2, again, just OK and save. And this time, both engines. Well, actually, here, I'll show you engine 2 first. There's engine 2. Coming out. And you're flying along, engines at idle, we've landed, and full reverse for both engines. And coming out. Bingo. So, simple process, a little thing, but takes a lot of the headache out of setting up full reverse. All right, so the next piece I'm going to show you guys real quick is if you do want to segment part of your axis to trigger the same thing. So let's do this. We're going to use completely different axis just to get the test here. And we're going to use axis number 3 here. And I'm going to do both engines on one because this is just to show you guys how I would do this, right? I'm going to add, this one we want to segment the axis out, right? So we're just going to use engine 1 as our, we'll do that. We'll use engine 1 as our example. But we're going to go between, and let's say we wanted it to be between, I don't know, 0, let's uncheck that. 0 and, I don't know, 5%. Doesn't have to be much, right? And again, reverse thrust. Configure. And we'll do all engines. Let me show you guys all engines just so you can see how it works. Okay? And then what we would do is for the rest of the throttle is we would go to range on the range. We don't want all of it. We want between 6 and 100%, right? Because we're using the other half. Pick. And here we're going to do throttle because we're putting it all on one axis. And we just want throttle set. Throttle underscore set. That one right there. And that should take care of both of them if I'm not mistaken. And you can see they're already there because of where my throttle position was. So there we go. Coming down, coming down, coming down. We're going to reach that 5% mark. You know, I can actually click in there. Coming down. There's 4. And there you go. Oh my god, the parking brake isn't set. Okay? And that's how you would do it with an axis. Again, so much faster. So much faster. The last thing I'm going to show you guys is a similar process just for a button if you want to bind it like on your joystick. So a real quick, one more demo. And then I'll show you guys the TBM 850 or like probably the Cessna 208, something like that. And then I'll also show you guys how we would set this up. And I think I've already got this one set. Nope, that's for brakes. That's something different. So let's do this. Let's actually clear that binding. Come in here. And again, real fast. Reverse thrust, configure, MSF all engines, hit OK, save. Notice I didn't have to select hold. I didn't have to do anything else. I literally just single press. That's it. Now watch. I'm going to push that button on the stick. Holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it. I'm holding the button. Let go. Perfect. Right? All right. So now let me get into a quick demo on a turboprop. Be real fast, and then we'll talk about how to set everything up in the fly-by-wire because there is a couple caveats to that. So stick around. All right, so I decided to do the weekly fan favorite, I think, and we are in the Cessna 208, still from Black Square. But again, we're going to use the throttle as our indicator here, but with the same bindings that you guys just saw. Okay, I have changed absolutely nothing. Okay, going into reverse. A nice smooth action. You can hear it. And coming back up. Real nice, easy setup, easy to manage. It works with almost all the aircraft. The one thing that I'm going to show you guys here is if we go to the Phoenix, and we're not going to worry about the axis. I just want to show you guys this. and we choose our Phoenix preset, you can see the Phoenix uses LVARs. So we work our way down from zero, or from 1 to 0, excuse me. 1 on the Phoenix, so the Phoenix uses an LVAR. Now, notice that at the moment, this is a single button, both reversers, okay? I will change that. Just give me time, but you guys are welcome to also build your own preset, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But you have your left engine, right engine, set the LVAR to 1. That is low reverse, or reverse idle, I guess would be the way to say it, in the Phoenix A320. And then 0 is full reverse. You can see the delays between the actions. And then finally, again, coming back up, moving your way up into 2, which is standard idle. Okay? So then the final piece here, before I get into the fly-by-wire caveat, is you have save as preset. So you can actually create your own. You can edit them, you know, whatever you want to do. You can move the sequence around. You can remove lines. You can delete a preset if you want. I don't know why you would, unless you made one on accident. You can also export and import them. Okay, so you can choose where you want to put them, and you can share them out with each other. So if you have a reverser that's working and someone else is just struggling to get it quite right, you're also able to share your reverse configurations as well. Okay, if you know, maybe you've got everything else set up just the way you want and you only are struggling with reverse. That way you don't have to share entire device profiles. So there's that. And so the last piece that we're going to look at is, as I said, the fly-by-wire caveat. It's real simple. For those of you who are already familiar with the EFB on the fly-by-wire aircraft, you can by all means. I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to check out Hangar Control overkillsimulations.com if you're interested. And be sure to create your account first, no matter what. Whether you want to purchase it or download the trial, create your account first. Okay, let's get into the fly-by-wire. Okay, so real quick, the only caveat here for the fly-by-wire, it's actually really simple. You're still using the same commands that we used before. You're still using the throttle 1, throttle 2 set, but fly-by-wire has its own built-in method of handling reverse. So does the Phoenix, for example, but the Phoenix makes it a lot easier to manipulate it because they do LVARs. Okay, where the fly-by-wire does something else. You need to go into calibrate. So we went to, let me back that up, I'm sorry. You come down to the settings, sim options. I just was off and running, and down at the bottom, throttle detents. If you want to use like the buttons on the Bravo, like I just showed you guys a moment ago, you need to make sure that you untick reverser on axis. Notice that the reverser idle, reverser full are gone. If you are putting it on an axis, on the same axis that is binding to your throttles, then I would actually recommend just setting it up in the fly-by-wire. I would bypass this entire process completely from Hangar Control and set everything from full reverse up to your toga on your throttles if that's what you're planning to do. Okay, if you want to use reverse idle and reverse full on the same axis that your throttles are on, then by all means I would not recommend using anybody else's software for this particular set, because this handles it perfectly fine. Now you can still use, like I said, you still bind throttle 1 and throttle 2. As you can see, they move just fine. And yes, it is common that you will see at your idle position, they will likely be right about here. They won't be all the way down to the bottom. That's totally normal. Okay. But anyways, that was really it. That's the only caveat, is if you're wanting to use the detents, if you're wanting to use the process I showed you, make sure you untick this line. You still need to set up the rest of your detents for idle, climb, flight, or flex and toga. That is still a must. So for example, we'll just walk through that real quick. If we go set from throttle, set from throttle, yep, that's fine. We're going to move the throttles up just a little bit. Climb, set from throttle, set from throttle, a little bit more. Go to flex, set from throttle, and finally toga. Set from throttle, and then back to idle. And then save and apply, and then the rest of the steps you would complete in Hangar Control as I showed you guys before. So anyways, I hope you guys found this video useful. I hope you guys enjoy the new features, and stay tuned for that release, which will be tomorrow, April the 1st.